The morning sun spread a warm glow across the quiet countryside neighborhood where Sam and his family had just moved. Their new home stood tall at the end of a curved road, surrounded by large oak trees and a wide open yard that stretched farther than the children had ever known. The white paint of the house shone brightly, the porch rails gleamed, and the old wooden swing by the garden swayed softly in the breeze. Sam carried boxes from the truck with steady steps, setting them carefully on the porch. He was tired but also happy. For years he had dreamed of owning a place where his family could live without the noise of crowded streets and the endless rules of city apartments. This house was more than just walls and a roof to him. It was freedom. Anna, his wife, was already busy arranging flower pots near the front steps. She loved gardening, and even though they had just arrived the evening before, she had unpacked her favorite tools first. She wore her wide hat and bent down to loosen the soil where she planned to plant bright flowers. She hummed softly, enjoying the quiet air. The children, Mia and Ben, ran across the yard with laughter echoing like bells. Mia held a small kite, trying to lift it into the morning wind while Ben chased after her, determined to grab the string. Their voices were cheerful, and even the birds sitting on the tall trees seemed to pause and listen. Everything looked peaceful, almost perfect. For a moment, Sam stopped, resting his hands on his knees, and just took in the scene. His wife with her flowers, his children playing, and the calm house behind them. It was exactly what he had hoped for. But peace in new places often comes with surprises. As Sam lifted another box, he noticed a figure walking across the street. It was a woman, holding a clipboard in one hand and walking with the sort of confidence that announced her importance before she even spoke. She was dressed neatly, her hair pulled back, and her eyes fixed firmly on Sam's home. She stopped at the gate, smiled politely at first, and then called out, "Good morning. I'm Karen, president of the neighborhood association." Sam set the box down and wiped his hands on his jeans before walking over. "Good morning." "I'm Sam. We just moved in yesterday." Karen nodded, looking him up and down as though she were studying a new student in her class. "Yes, I noticed. Welcome to the neighborhood. We try to keep everything here in order, and I'm glad you're settling in." She tapped her clipboard lightly. "Now I'll need you to sign the membership papers for the HOA. That way you can start paying your dues and following the community rules." Sam's eyebrows lifted slightly. He had read every word of his property papers. His house was built outside of the HOA area, and that was one of the reasons he had chosen it. He gave her a calm smile. "I think there's been some mistake. Our house isn't part of the HOA. The deed doesn't mention it." Karen's smile faded just a little, though she quickly put it back on. "Oh, I'm sure you're mistaken. Everyone here is under the HOA. It's how we keep everything neat and fair. You'll need to follow our standards for landscaping, paint colors, mailbox designs, even outdoor activities. It's all in the handbook." She tapped her clipboard again as if the sound itself would convince him. Sam stayed polite but firm. "I checked carefully before buying. This property isn't included. We'll take care of our home ourselves, thank you." The corners of Karen's smile tightened. She tilted her chin slightly, a sign of her growing impatience. "Well, you'll soon see that it's better for everyone if you join. I'll leave the papers here for you. You can look them over and sign." She placed a thick folder on the gate and walked back across the street without waiting for a reply. Anna had been listening while kneeling by her flower bed. She looked up at Sam with concern. "What was that about?" Sam sighed and picked up the folder, flipping through its many pages filled with printed rules, fees, and penalties. "She wants us to join their association, but we're not part of it. I'll just put this back." He placed the folder aside and continued unloading boxes, but Anna noticed the way Karen stood in her yard, watching them. The woman's arms were crossed, her eyes sharp like a hawk's, and it gave Anna an uneasy feeling. The first few days passed quickly with unpacking, arranging rooms, and setting up the house. Sam built shelves in the garage. Anna filled the kitchen with her favorite dishes, and the children explored every corner of the yard. They found a patch of wildflowers at the far edge, a tall tree perfect for climbing, and even a small creek running quietly behind the house. But every time they stepped outside, Karen seemed to appear. She commented on their garden, on the way the children left toys on the grass, and on the shade of paint around their porch. Her tone was always presented as advice, but her words carried a weight of command. One afternoon, while Sam was fixing the mailbox, Karen walked over again. "You know, that mailbox doesn't meet our design standards. You'll have to replace it with the approved model. Sam straightened up and looked at her calmly. This is our property. We're not part of the HOA, the mailbox stays. Karen pursed her lips, then turned sharply and walked away. Her steps were quick, her heels striking the pavement with louder clicks than before. That evening, as the family gathered on the porch to watch the sunset, Anna leaned close to Sam. She doesn't seem like she's going to leave us alone. Sam nodded slowly. She's used to people giving in, but we won't. We came here for peace, not more rules. The children didn't notice the tension. Mia and Ben were busy drawing with chalk on the wooden porch floor, making colorful flowers and stars. Their laughter softened the worry for a while. Still, when the sun dipped below the trees and the sky turned orange, Karen's figure could be seen again across the street. She was on her porch with her clipboard, staring directly at their home as if measuring every detail. Sam felt the weight of her eyes but chose to ignore it. He wrapped his arm around Anna's shoulder and said softly, "This is our home. We'll protect it." The days that followed showed more of Karen's presence. She left notes on their gate about trimming bushes, about where to park their car, about not leaving laundry to dry in the open. Each note was neatly typed and signed with her name. Anna threw the notes away, but the steady stream of them created unease. The children even started asking, "Why does that lady always watch us?" Sam remained calm, but he knew this was only the beginning of something larger. He could see in Karen's eyes that she wasn't going to stop. She was a woman who believed rules were stronger than freedom, and she expected everyone to obey her. For now, though, Sam decided to stay patient. He wanted his family to settle in, to enjoy their new life and not to let one neighbor's behavior spoil the joy of their fresh start. But deep inside, he understood that the real test of living in this neighborhood had just begun. The house still glowed in the evening light. The yard was still wide and green. The children still ran happily, their voices lifting through the air. But across the street, the woman with the clipboard continued to watch, and her presence was like a shadow stretching toward them. Sam looked at the quiet sky above and whispered to himself a promise he didn't share with anyone. This is my family's home. No one is going to take that piece from us. And with that thought, the first chapter of their new life closed, leaving space for the next to unfold. The first week in the new house had passed, and Sam's family began to fall into a routine. Every morning, Anna would step outside to tend her flowers. Mia and Ben would chase each other around the yard, and Sam would work on small projects to make the house feel more like home. He fixed the fence, oiled the gate hinges, and even built a small wooden bench under the big oak tree so his children could sit and read in the shade. The house was slowly becoming everything they had dreamed of. But while Sam focused on building a life of peace, Karen seemed focused on building problems. It started small. One morning, Sam found a typed letter folded neatly and tucked into his mailbox. It was signed by Karen and titled, HOA Notice. The letter listed 3 things. The grass needed trimming, toys should not be left outside overnight, and laundry should not be hung in public view. Sam read it carefully, shook his head, and placed it in the trash. Later that day, Anna asked him what the paper was about. He told her calmly, "Just more of her rules. But we're not part of it, so it doesn't matter." Anna nodded, though she looked uneasy. "She acts like she owns the whole street." Sam gave her hand a reassuring squeeze. "We'll be fine. She can't force us." But Karen was not someone who gave up easily. The very next day, as Anna watered her plants, Karen walked over again. She held her clipboard and a stack of forms. "Good morning," she said, though her voice sounded more like a command than a greeting. "I trust you had time to review the HOA membership papers I left you." Anna straightened up, wiping her hands on her apron. "We don't need those papers. Our house is not in the HOA." Karen's smile faltered. She pressed her lips together, then spoke firmly. "That's not how this neighborhood works. Everyone here follows the HOA rules. It keeps the community beautiful. It keeps property values high. You can't simply ignore it." Sam, who had been repairing the fence nearby, walked over. His tone was polite but steady. "We're not ignoring anything. We're simply not part of your association. I made sure of that before we bought this house." Karen held up the forms. "If you sign now, I can help you avoid penalties. If you refuse, it will only make things harder." Sam's eyes narrowed slightly. "There are no penalties for us. These rules don't apply to this property." For a long moment, the two stared at each other, neither willing to back down. Finally, Karen gave a stiff nod and said, I'll give you time to think. But you'll see. It's better to cooperate. She turned sharply and walked back across the street. Anna exhaled, her shoulders tense. She's going to keep coming, isn't she? Sam nodded. Yes, but we'll keep standing firm. The following days proved him right. Karen showed up almost every afternoon. Sometimes she carried a new letter. Other times she simply stopped to point out something she disliked about their yard. One day it was the color of the curtains in their windows. Another day it was the way Ben's bike leaned against the porch railing. She even told Mia not to draw with chalk on the driveway because it looked messy. The children grew nervous whenever they saw her approach. Anna grew tired of the constant criticism. And Sam, though patient, felt his anger rise each time Karen tried to dictate how they should live. Still, he chose calm answers. Each time she complained, he reminded her, "We are not in the HOA, please stop leaving notes." But Karen seemed determined to prove her power. One Friday evening, as the family gathered for dinner, there was a knock at the door. Sam opened it to find Karen again, holding another set of papers. This time her smile was gone completely. "You need to sign these forms tonight," she said firmly. "The board has discussed it, and they expect every household to be under the HOA. You're the only ones refusing." Sam crossed his arms. "We are not part of your board. We don't owe you anything." Karen's face grew red. She raised her voice slightly. "Do you think you can live here and break the rules? Do you think you can ignore what keeps this neighborhood strong? If you refuse to join, you will regret it." Anna appeared beside Sam, her expression calm but firm. "We bought this house for peace, not for someone to control us." "Please leave." Karen glared at both of them, then thrust the papers forward. "I'll leave these here. You have until tomorrow. If you still refuse, I'll have to report you." She dropped the papers on the porch table and stormed away, her steps loud and quick. Sam closed the door slowly, holding the papers in his hand. He placed them straight into the trash without even looking through them. Then he sat down at the table with his family. Anna asked quietly, "Do you think she'll really report us?" Sam nodded. "Yes, she might. But the law is on our side. We'll keep calm. We'll not let her scare us." Mia and Ben, who had been listening with wide eyes, asked softly, "Is that lady going to make us leave?" Sam leaned forward, his voice steady and kind. "No one can make us leave. This is our home. We belong here. Don't worry." The children relaxed a little, but Anna still looked worried. She knew Karen would not stop easily. The next morning, Sam walked out to pick up the newspaper and saw Karen standing with two other board members near her driveway. They were whispering and pointing toward his house. He didn't react, just picked up the paper and went back inside. But inside, he thought carefully. If she was gathering the board, it meant she was planning something bigger. Later that day, another note appeared on their gate. This one was written in harsher words. It said that refusal to join the HOA would lead to fines and possible action by the board. Sam read it, then showed it to Anna. "She's bluffing," he said. "She can't touch us." "But she's trying to scare us." Anna shook her head. "She won't stop until she gets what she wants." Sam sat down at the porch table, looking out across the street where Karen stood watching them. He felt the weight of her gaze like a storm cloud forming in the sky. He knew the quiet life they had imagined was already being tested. Still, he held on to his calm. He reminded himself of the reason they had moved here. The wide yard, the peaceful air, the laughter of his children. No neighbor, no board, no paper could take that away unless he allowed it. As the sun went down and the crickets began their evening song, Sam made a quiet promise in his heart. He would not give in. He would not let Karen's demands change the way his family lived. This was their home and they would protect it. But even as he promised himself, he knew the struggle was far from over. Karen was planning her next move and soon her demands would grow louder. The air that evening was calm, but beneath it a storm was waiting to rise. The weekend began with bright skies. Sam woke early, enjoying the soft air as he sipped his coffee on the porch. Anna soon joined him, carrying a tray with toast and fruit. The children were still asleep, tired from a late evening of games and stories. For a short while, the house felt peaceful again. But Sam knew the peace was fragile. He had seen Karen watching them from her porch more often, sometimes with her clipboard, sometimes just with folded arms. Her eyes never softened and her expression always seemed to hold a quiet challenge. By mid-morning, the peace was broken. Sam was grilling in the backyard while Anna prepared lemonade inside. Mia and Ben played by the swing, laughing as they took turns pushing each other higher. The sound of their laughter mixed with the smell of grilled vegetables and meat. Everything seemed normal until the sudden sound of sirens filled the air. 2 police cars pulled into the street, their lights flashing brightly in the sunlight. They slowed near Sam's house and came to a stop right in front of the gate. Sam put down the grilling fork and wiped his hands on a cloth, his heart sinking. He already guessed who was behind this. Karen appeared almost at once, walking quickly from her house. She waved her arms toward the police, pointing at Sam's yard. Her voice carried across the street, though her words were mixed with anger and urgency. "That's the house!" That family refuses to follow the rules. They are breaking the law of the community. The children stopped swinging. Mia clutched the rope tightly and Ben stepped closer to his sister. Anna came out from the house, holding the tray of lemonade but looking tense and uncertain. Sam raised a hand to calm his family, then walked toward the gate to meet the officers. "Good morning," Sam said, keeping his tone respectful. "How can I help you?" One of the officers, a tall man with a calm expression, stepped forward. "Sir, we received a call from the HOA president. She said you are refusing to comply with community regulations." Sam nodded slowly. "Yes, she has been pressuring us to join the HOA, but our property is not part of it. I have the deed and county documents to prove that." Karen interrupted, her voice sharp. "Don't believe him. Everyone in this neighborhood must follow the board. He is ignoring lawful orders. He is damaging the harmony of our community." The officer turned toward Karen, raising a hand to stop her. "Ma'am, please let us handle this." Then he looked back at Sam. "Do you have the documents you mentioned?" "Yes," Sam replied. He walked to the porch, opened a small drawer near the front door and pulled out a folder. He returned with steady steps and handed it to the officer. "This is the property deed, and here are the county records. As you can see, this land is outside of the HOA boundaries." The officer flipped through the papers carefully. His partner, a younger officer with short hair, leaned in to look as well. After a few minutes of checking, the tall officer nodded. He closed the folder and handed it back. "Everything here looks correct. You are not under the HOA. You are free to manage your property as you wish." Karen gasped loudly. "That cannot be true. Everyone must follow the rules. Without the HOA, the whole street will fall apart. You must make them join." The officer's expression grew firm. "Ma'am, the documents are clear. This family is not part of your association. They are not required to join. And calling us for this is not a good use of police resources." Karen's face turned red. She tried to argue again. "But they are breaking the spirit of the rules. They don't belong here if they refuse." The officer shook his head. "That is not for us to decide. And it is not for you to enforce. You cannot use the police for personal disputes." Sam remained calm but firm. "I told you before, Karen, we're not part of your HOA. Please stop trying to force us." Karen's mouth opened and closed, but no more words came. Her anger was visible in her tight fists and trembling shoulders. Finally, she turned sharply and walked back to her house, muttering under her breath. The officers gave Sam a small nod. "Sorry for the trouble, sir. Enjoy your day." "Thank you for understanding," Sam replied. The police cars pulled away, leaving the street quiet again, but the silence felt heavy. Anna set the tray of lemonade on the porch table, her hand still shaking slightly. The children looked worried, their eyes wide as they clung to each other. Sam crouched down to meet their eyes. "It's all right." The police understood. "We didn't do anything wrong." "This is our home," Mia asked softly. "Is she going to call them again?" Sam thought for a moment before answering. "Maybe she will try something else. But we have the truth. That's all we need." Anna placed a hand on his shoulder. "She is going too far. This isn't just about rules anymore. She wants control." Sam nodded. He knew Anna was right. Karen's fight wasn't about beauty or property value. It was about power. She wanted everyone under her thumb, and Sam's refusal threatened that control. The rest of the day felt tense. Karen stayed inside her house, but now and then her curtains moved as though she was watching from behind them. Neighbors walked by slowly, whispering to each other. Some avoided eye contact with Sam's family, while others gave them small nods of support. That evening, after the children had gone to bed, Sam and Anna sat together on the porch. The crickets chirped and the air was cool, but their minds were heavy. Anna spoke softly. "What if she doesn't stop? What if she keeps pushing until something worse happens?" Sam leaned back, staring at the stars. "Then we keep standing. We have nothing to fear if we stay calm and honest. She may try again, but the truth is stronger than her rules. Anna rested her head on his shoulder, comforted by his steady voice, but still uneasy. She knew Karen's type. People like her didn't rest until they either won or were forced to stop. Sam wrapped his arm around her. No matter what happens, we face it together. Across the street, Karen's house sat dark and quiet, but Sam felt certain she was awake, planning her next step. He didn't know what it would be, but he knew one thing for sure. This battle was not over, and somewhere beyond the calm night, forces were already moving that would soon turn the tide in unexpected ways. The morning after the police visit, the street felt strangely quiet. Sam noticed it as soon as he stepped outside to fetch the newspaper. Normally, a few neighbors would be walking dogs or watering gardens, but this morning the air was still. Curtains across several homes were pulled back, and eyes peeked out, quickly disappearing when Sam glanced their way. He picked up the paper and returned to the porch. Anna was already there with her cup of tea. She gave him a small smile, but both of them knew the tension in the neighborhood had grown heavier. Sam sat beside her. "She stirred things up more than I thought," he said. Anna nodded. "People are whispering. They saw the police cars. They'll all be wondering what happened." Inside the house, Mia and Ben were still asleep, dreaming without care. For them, the memory of flashing lights and stern voices was fading quickly. But for Sam and Anna, the feeling of being under a spotlight remained sharp. By late morning, Karen's presence returned. She stood outside her house speaking with 2 other board members, men from the neighborhood who often followed her lead. They held folders and whispered to one another, nodding while Karen waved her hands as if giving instructions. Their expressions were serious. Anna saw them from the kitchen window and sighed. "She's planning again." Sam joined her, watching quietly. "Yes, but whatever she does, we'll face it. She can't break us." Hours passed and Sam tried to distract himself by repairing the fence at the back of the yard. Anna cleaned the porch and watered her flowers. The children played in the grass, their laughter returning little by little. But every so often, Sam noticed Karen's eyes on him, sharp and calculating. Around noon, a few neighbors gathered at the end of the street. Sam could hear murmurs but not full words. It seemed everyone was talking about the incident with the police. Some glanced toward his home, then quickly turned away when they realized he was looking. By early afternoon, the quiet neighborhood changed again, but not in the way Sam expected. The distant sound of engines grew louder. This time it was not 2 police cars, but a whole line of official vehicles turning into the neighborhood. Black SUVs, white vans, and several cars with government markings rolled in slowly. Their presence was heavy, unmistakable. Sam set down his hammer and called out to Anna, "Something's happening." Anna came rushing to the porch with wide eyes. "It's not for us, is it?" Sam shook his head. "No, look, the vehicles did not stop at their house. Instead, they continued down the street and came to a halt in front of the community center where Karen often held meetings. Officers and investigators stepped out quickly, carrying large boxes, cameras, and sealed bags. Neighbors rushed to their porches and sidewalks, whispering loudly, shocked by the sudden scene. Sam and Anna watched from their porch as the officers entered the building. Within minutes, they began carrying out boxes filled with papers, binders, and even computer equipment. The air was filled with the sound of radios crackling and orders being given. Karen appeared from her house almost at once. She hurried down the sidewalk, calling out, "What's going on?" "This is our community office. You can't just walk in like this," an officer held up a hand. "Ma'am, please step back. This is an official investigation." Karen's face turned pale. She looked around at the growing crowd of neighbors, then back at the officers. "There must be a mistake. Our board follows all the rules." But the officers ignored her protests. They continued their work, packing up records and equipment. Sam felt Anna's hand tighten around his arm. She whispered, "Do you think this is about the money? The fees she always talks about?" Sam nodded slowly. "I think so. She's been collecting more than she should, and someone must have reported it." The scene unfolded quickly. A group of neighbors approached one of the officers, asking questions. Soon the word began to spread through the whispers. There were complaints about missing funds, false charges, and misused HOA dues. The investigation had been going on quietly for weeks, and today was the day it reached its peak. Sam and Anna exchanged a look of surprise. "So this is why she's been so desperate," Anna said softly. "She thought forcing us in would give her more control." Karen tried to follow the officers into the community center, but another officer stopped her. "Ma'am, you need to wait outside. You will have your chance to answer questions." Karen's face flushed deep red. She turned toward the crowd of neighbors who were now whispering louder. Some looked angry, others confused, but none of them looked supportive. A woman from down the street called out, "Is it true, Karen? Were you taking extra fees?" Another man shouted, "We've been paying for years. Where did all that money go?" Karen raised her hands, her voice shaking. No, this is all a misunderstanding. Everything is for the good of the community." But her words sounded weak against the sight of officers carrying more boxes and computers out of the building. For the first time, Sam saw Karen without her armor of control. She looked smaller, less certain, and deeply nervous. The strong voice that had demanded obedience now cracked with fear. Sam stayed quiet, watching from a distance. He felt no joy in her trouble, but he couldn't deny a sense of relief. The truth was finally showing itself. Hours passed as the officers finished their work. The sun lowered in the sky, casting long shadows across the street. The crowd of neighbors remained, watching closely. Whispers turned into quiet conversations. The mood had shifted from shock to anger. People wanted answers. Karen stood outside the center, wringing her hands. Her board members, who had been so confident earlier, now avoided her eyes. They whispered among themselves but offered her no support. When the officers finally left, taking boxes of evidence with them, the neighborhood was left buzzing with questions. Karen tried to speak to the crowd, insisting everything was fine, but the people turned away from her. They no longer looked at her as their leader. Sam and Anna returned inside, the children trailing behind them with curious faces. Ben asked, "Why were there so many cars? What did they take?" Sam knelt down and spoke gently. "They were checking on things at the community office. Sometimes leaders don't do the right thing and others have to step in to make it fair." Mia frowned. "So she was wrong?" Sam nodded. "Yes, and now people know the truth." That evening, the family sat on their porch once more. The air felt lighter, as if a heavy cloud had lifted. Across the street, Karen's house was dark. No clipboard, no notes, no watchful eyes. Anna looked at Sam with a quiet smile. "Do you realize what just happened? She tried to break us, but in the end, it was her own board that broke." Sam leaned back, feeling a calm he hadn't felt since moving in. It seems sometimes the truth takes time, but it always arrives. The neighborhood buzzed with gossip late into the night, but in Sam's home there was peace. The storm that had hung over them for days seemed to fade, leaving only the quiet hum of crickets and the gentle laughter of children playing one last game before bed. Yet Sam knew the story was not finished. Karen had been embarrassed, her power shaken, but she was not someone who would disappear quietly. She might hide for a while, but she would not give up easily. For now, though, Sam allowed himself to enjoy the rare calm. He sat with Anna, holding her hand, while Mia and Ben leaned against the porch railing. The stars appeared slowly in the dark sky, shining bright above their home. Their family had stood firm. The truth had spoken louder than any demand. And though challenges might still come, Sam felt stronger than ever to face them. The day after the raid, the neighborhood no longer felt the same. The silence was broken, not by children laughing or dogs barking, but by whispers. Every porch became a small gathering place where people exchanged words about the raid, the boxes of records, and the truth that had started to surface. Sam woke early, as he always did, and stepped outside. The cool air carried a strange mix of relief and unease. He noticed groups of neighbors standing together, some pointing at the community center, others shaking their heads. It was as if everyone had finally realized that the leadership they had trusted for so long had cracks beneath the surface. Anna joined him with 2 cups of tea. She looked toward the quiet house where Karen lived. Curtains were still drawn, and there was no sign of her on the porch. For once, there was no clipboard, no papers, no voice telling others what to do. "She's hiding," Anna said softly. Sam nodded. "She has to. People know now." They saw it with their own eyes. The children came out soon after, full of energy. Ben chased Mia across the yard, their laughter echoing through the morning. For them, the heavy events of the last few days were fading into stories they might not even remember clearly years from now. But for Sam and Anna, the memory of flashing lights, loud voices, and the sight of boxes being carried away was still sharp. By late morning, the neighbors began knocking on Sam's door. First, it was a man from down the street. then a couple who had lived there for years. Soon, several families stood on his porch speaking with nervous excitement. One man spoke up. "Sam, we just wanted to say we're sorry. We didn't believe you when you said she was going too far. We thought you were just being stubborn. But now, after what we saw yesterday, we understand." A woman added, "You were right to stand your ground. If more of us had done the same, maybe it wouldn't have gone this far." Sam listened quietly. He felt no need to boast or remind them of his warnings. He only said, "What matters is that the truth came out. Now the question is what we do next." The group nodded, unsure. For so long, Karen had been the voice of the community. Without her, there was confusion. That evening, a larger gathering took place at the park near the community center. Almost every family came. People brought chairs, blankets, and baskets of food, as if trying to turn a moment of unease into a moment of togetherness. The sun was low, painting the sky orange when the conversations began. Some neighbors wanted to disband the HOA entirely. They were tired of rules, tired of fees, tired of being told how to live. Others felt the organization should remain but under new leadership, one that was honest and transparent. Sam sat quietly for a long time, listening. Anna sat beside him, her hand resting on his arm. She whispered, "They want you to speak." "You can feel it." Sam looked around. He saw eyes turning toward him, waiting. He never wanted to be a leader, but after standing firm against Karen, people respected him. Finally, he rose to his feet. His voice carried through the crowd, calm and steady. "I moved here with my family because I believed this neighborhood was a good place to raise our children, and it is. We have kind people, hardworking families, and a spirit that deserves to grow stronger. What happened with the board is painful, but it's also a chance to change. We don't need control through fear. We don't need someone watching us every hour. What we need is fairness and respect. If we keep an organization, it must serve everyone, not a few. And if we end it, then we must still stand together as neighbors, helping each other without rules written on paper." There was a long silence after his words. Then slowly people began to clap. Soon the applause spread until the park was filled with it. Sam felt his chest tighten, not with pride but with relief. The message had reached them. In the following days, the neighborhood transformed. Meetings were held, but they were open and honest. People shared ideas about gardens, safety, and events for children. No one shouted, no one waved clipboards. Instead, voices were equal. Karen, however, stayed silent. She rarely left her house. The once busy woman now kept her curtains closed and her lights dim. Rumors spread that she might face legal trouble for the way the HOA funds had been handled. No one knew the full details, but the fear she had once inspired was gone. One afternoon, Sam saw her in her yard for the first time in weeks. She was watering her plants, her shoulders slumped, her face tired. For a moment, their eyes met. There was no anger, no accusation, only a quiet understanding that her reign was over. She turned away without a word, and Sam let her go. Life slowly returned to a rhythm. Children rode bicycles on the streets without worrying about rules about chalk drawings or lawn decorations. Families planted flowers of all colors without fear of fines. The neighborhood, once controlled by strict orders, began to breathe freely. But the biggest change was the sense of unity. Neighbors who had once avoided each other now shared meals and helped one another. They spoke not as members of a board, but as friends. One evening, the community held a celebration at the park. Lanterns hung from trees and tables were filled with food. Laughter filled the air as music played softly. Sam's children ran with their friends, free and joyful. Anna stood beside him, smiling. "This is what we hoped for when we moved here," she said. Sam nodded. "It took struggle, but sometimes struggle brings out the truth. We wanted peace, and now it feels like we have it." Neighbors came to thank him again, but Sam always answered the same way. "It wasn't just me. It was all of us deciding enough was enough. We stood together." The stars came out that night brighter than ever. Families lingered long after the music stopped, enjoying each other's company. The memory of the raid and the shouting faded, replaced by the sound of community, of belonging. For Sam's family, it was more than a victory over Karen. It was a reminder that standing firm for what is right, even when it feels lonely, can lead to real change. His children would grow up in a place where kindness mattered more than control, where neighbors looked out for each other because they cared, not because they were told to. As the evening ended and families walked home under the night sky, Sam carried Mia on his shoulders while Ben skipped beside Anna. The road felt safe. The homes felt warm and the future felt open. Karen's name might still be whispered from time to time, but no longer with fear. Instead, she became a reminder of a lesson learned. Power gained through fear cannot last. True strength lies in honesty, unity, and respect. In the weeks that followed, Sam noticed the small but powerful changes around him. A neighbor who once hid behind closed doors now waved each morning. Children drew pictures on the sidewalks, filling them with colors and smiles. Families shared fruits and vegetables from their gardens. Even the houses seemed brighter, as if free from invisible chains. For Sam, Anna, Mia, and Ben, it was not just a new chapter. It was the life they had dreamed of when they chose this neighborhood. A place not ruled by one voice, but shared by many hearts. And so their story did not end with fear or raids, but with hope. A new beginning had come, built not on rules and demands, but on kindness and trust. The family sat on their porch one final evening, watching the sunset paint the sky with gold. The air was calm. The laughter of children floated across the yards, and peace finally felt real. Sam looked at Anna and said, "We made it through." Anna smiled. Yes, together. The world was quiet, but it was no longer the silence of fear. It was the quiet of peace, the kind of peace that grows strong roots and lasts. And in that peace, the family knew they had found home at last.